There's a reason you feel blunt. You weren't born this distracted. You weren't born this tired. You weren't born scrolling your life away, switching from app to app, from noise to noise, from one tiny hit of dopamine to another. But look at how most of us live today. Wake up tired. Reach for the phone before your own thoughts. Scroll past 100 lives before you've even touched your own. Work just enough not to get fired. Rest just enough not to collapse. Repeat until you can't tell one day from the next. We live in a world where every second is filled, but somehow we feel empty. We call it being busy. But if you're being honest, it feels more like being scattered. And here's the scary part. A scattered life cannot cut through anything, not through fear, not through laziness, not through the resistance that keeps you exactly where you are. You can feel it. You know there's more inside you than what you're living right now. But every time you try to change, something pulls you back. Comfort, distraction, old habits, people who don't expect anything more from you, so you stop expecting anything more from yourself. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere else, far away from notifications, far away from timelines and trends, far away from this version of you that is always almost ready, but never truly forged. I want to take you into a Japanese forge centuries ago, where a man named Masamune created blades so legendary that warriors believed they had a soul. They didn't fear the weapon. They respected the discipline that made it, because a blade is just steel until a master shapes it with purpose. And so are you. In this video, you're not just going to hear a story about some ancient swordsmith. You're going to walk into the forge with him. You're going to feel the heat. You're going to hear the hammer. You're going to watch dull metal become something terrifyingly precise. And as you watch Masamune shape weapons, you will learn how to shape yourself. This is not motivation. This is not feel good and forget. This is a system, a way of looking at your life like a blade in progress. Welcome to the Forge. Welcome to Hypothetics. Chapter 1. The Fire. You cannot stay cold and expect to change before Masamune ever touched a hammer. Before he ever traced the curve of a blade, he did something very simple. He put the steel into the fire. No technique, no artistry, just heat. Because cold steel is stubborn, it resists change. You can hit it, you can shout at it, you can demand that it bend. It won't. Sound familiar? You say you want to change your life. You say you want discipline. You say you want a sharper mind, a stronger body, a clearer purpose, but you refuse the one thing that makes all transformation possible: discomfort. We've built an entire culture around staying comfortable. The moment we feel a little stress, we escape into food, into entertainment, into endless scrolling, into telling ourselves, "I'll start tomorrow." But Masamune understood a brutal truth. Nothing hard will ever become something beautiful if it is afraid of heat. When he placed that raw, stubborn metal into the fire, he wasn't punishing it. He was preparing it. The fire doesn't destroy the blade. The fire makes it soft enough to shape. That is the first rule of the forge, and it is the first rule of your life. If you avoid the fire, you avoid your transformation. Think about your own fire. Waking up earlier than you want to. Showing up to work on your craft when nobody's watching. Saying no to people who waste your time. Finalizing that plan you've been procrastinating on for months. Admitting that the way you're living now, isn't it? These moments feel hot. They burn your comfort. They burn your excuses. They burn the old version of you that wants to stay the same. So you back away. You step out of the forge and you call it self-care, when in reality, it's self-preservation of your weakness. Masamune did not ask the metal if it was comfortable. He did not negotiate with it. He did not say, "Let me keep you cool," and somehow also turn you into a sword. He knew that was impossible. And here's your wake-up call. You are trying to live as cold steel while wanting the results of a forged blade. You can't have both. You can't stay in your bed, in your comfortable habits, in your familiar environment, and also expect to become sharp, unbreakable, and focused. At some point, you must willingly walk into the fire, not once, not for a weekend, not for the first week of January, consistently. Maybe your fire is finally committing to a daily routine. Maybe it's cutting off someone who keeps dragging you back into the person you're trying to escape from. Maybe it's starting the thing you've been talking about for years but never had the courage to begin. Whatever it is, you already know. You can feel where your life needs heat. The question is not, do I know what to do? You do. The question is, am I willing to step into the fire long enough to let it change me? Masamune watched the color of the steel carefully. Too little heat, and it stayed hard and unworkable. Too much, and it became damaged, brittle, ruined. He didn't just throw it into chaos. He applied controlled intensity. This is another mistake we make. We either avoid all discomfort or we go all in for 3 days, burn out, and quit. We sprint into extremes, 3-hour workouts, 10 new habits at once, new me energy that dies at the first sign of real resistance. That's not a forge, that's a fire hazard. Controlled intensity looks different. You choose 1 or 2 areas of your life. You turn up the heat deliberately. You stay with it even when it's uncomfortable, but you don't destroy yourself with unrealistic expectations. You tell yourself, for the next 30 days, this is my fire. I will stand inside it. I will not run from it. I will let it soften what needs to change. That might be 30 days of consistent writing, 30 days of training, 30 days of studying for a new skill, 30 days of no mindless scrolling after 9 p.m. Small commitments. But if you actually stay in the heat, you will feel something start to shift. Your excuses melt first. Your illusions melt next. Then the shape of who you could be starts to appear. Only then, after the fire, does Masamune pick up the hammer. Only then is the metal ready to be shaped. And that is where we go next. But before we step onto the anvil of discipline, you need to ask yourself a simple, dangerous question. What fire am I avoiding? Because if you can't name it, you will never face it. And if you never face it, you will remain exactly as you are now. Hard, stubborn, unshaped, blunt. You were not made to live as dull steel in a world that needs sharp minds and strong hearts. So in this forge, with Masamune as our guide, we start where every blade begins. Not with strength, not with glory, not with victory. We start with the fire. Chapter 2, The Hammer, the art of discipline over emotion. When the fire had done its work, when the steel was no longer cold and stubborn, Masamune carried it to the anvil, and then he did something modern people hate. He repeated the same action over and over and over again, not with excitement, not with emotion, not with motivation, but with discipline. Each strike shaped the blade. Each strike removed weakness. Each strike brought the metal closer to what it was meant to be. And here is the truth that most people will never accept. Your life will not change because you feel inspired. It will change because you become consistent. We worship emotion today. We chase the days when we feel ready. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect burst of energy. Masamune didn't wait for perfect conditions. He didn't ask the steel how it felt. He didn't check if the weather was right. He didn't stop because he was tired. He hammered, patiently, deliberately, relentlessly. This is the part most people never see, because discipline doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look epic. It looks repetitive. Waking up at the same time every morning, practicing a skill for an hour even when you're bored, showing up for your routine even when no one is watching, doing the small things that feel insignificant until they are the only reason you become unrecognizable. In the forge, repetition is not a punishment. It is the path. And in your life, repetition is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is proof that transformation is happening. But here's the issue. You keep letting your emotions interrupt the hammer. You say, I don't feel motivated today. I'm tired. I'll try again tomorrow. It's not fun anymore. I'm not seeing results yet. So the hammer stops. And every time you stop, you reset the entire forging process. You go back to being blunt. Masamune understood something you must understand. Emotion is a visitor. Discipline is a blacksmith. Emotion comes and goes. Discipline stays in the room until the work is done. You will not always feel inspired. You will not always feel confident. You will not always feel powerful. You were not meant to. But discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline is the version of you that acts even when the rest of you wants to quit. That's why Masamune's blades were different. He didn't hammer with anger. He didn't hammer with pride. He hammered with presence. Each strike was controlled, measured, intentional, not rushed, not sloppy, not emotional. This is a lesson for your own habits. It is better to train for 20 minutes every day than for 2 hours once a week. It is better to write 1 paragraph daily than to attempt a full chapter and burn out. It is better to make small, boring improvements than dramatic changes that fade in a week. Because the hammer of discipline is not about intensity, it is about rhythm. Your rhythm. The rhythm of someone who has decided, I will not stop shaping myself. Masamune didn't strike the metal 10 times and then walk away expecting perfection. He hammered for hours, days, sometimes weeks. The blade didn't become extraordinary because of one great swing. It became extraordinary because of 1,000 consistent ones. So ask yourself, what is the hammer in your life? What action repeated daily will reshape you? Because the truth is simple. You don't need more inspiration. You need a hammer. And you need to swing it every day, not when you feel like it, not when life is easy, not when motivation is high, every single day. This chapter of your life will not be written by your feelings. It will be written by your discipline, by the strikes you deliver long after the excitement fades. The fire softens you, but the hammer shapes you. And when the shape is finally clear, we arrive at the most painful phase of all, the sharpening, where you must confront what is dull, what is unnecessary, what is holding you back, and cut it away. Chapter 3. The Sharpening. Ruthless Self-Honesty. The fire softened the steel. The hammer shaped it. But what turns a shaped piece of metal into a weapon worthy of a warrior is the sharpening. In the forge, this is the moment of truth. Because this stage doesn't hide anything. If the blade is uneven, the whetstone will reveal it. If the metal is flawed, the sharpening will expose it. If the craftsmanship was sloppy, the edge will crumble. Sharpening, in every sense, is honesty made physical, and this is where most people walk away, because the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. Masamune sharpened slowly, patiently. He wasn't rushing toward the finish line. He wasn't craving applause. He wasn't looking for shortcuts. He looked at the blade with eyes that did not lie. He asked, "What needs to be removed so that what remains is pure strength?" That is the question you must ask yourself now. Not, "What do I want to add to my life? What new habit should I start? What new identity should I show the world?" No, sharpening is subtraction, not addition. Sharpening is the courage to cut away what makes you weak. Look at your life the way Masamune looked at a blade. What dulls you? What makes you slower? What makes your edge less effective? What steals your focus? Who drains your energy? What habits pull you backward? What lies have you been telling yourself that keep you from seeing what you are truly capable of? You already know the answers, but you've been avoiding them because the truth hurts, and truth always hurts before it heals. Watch closely as Masamune sharpens. Every stroke removes something imperfect, something unnecessary, something that has no place on the final blade. Your life is no different. If you want to be sharp, you must be willing to grind away your excuses, your procrastination, your unhealthy attachments, your comfort addictions, your fear of disappointing others, your need for constant validation. These are the dull edges you keep carrying. These are the reasons you feel stuck. These are the things that make your potential heavy. There is a version of you under all of that mental weight, sharper, clearer, more focused. But you will never meet that version if you refuse to let go. Sharpening is not glamorous. It is not fun. It is not exciting. It feels like loss, because part of you is being lost. The part that keeps you small, the part that keeps you afraid, the part that keeps you unprepared for the life you want. Masamune understood this. For a blade to live, parts of the steel must die. And for you to become the person you're capable of becoming, pieces of your old identity must be left behind on the stone. Sharpening is also alignment. A blade that is even slightly off will never cut straight. A life that is even slightly misaligned will never move forward with force. Look at your habits, your goals, your relationships, your dreams. Ask yourself, does this align with the person I am trying to become? If the answer is anything less than yes, it dulls you. Cut it away, not slowly, not someday, now. Because your edge cannot form while you are still protecting your dullness. Here is the part most people never reach. Once the sharpening begins, the blade starts to reflect its surroundings. That is the moment you see yourself clearly, not who you pretend to be, not who you wish you were, who you actually are. Sharpening forces reflection. Reflection forces growth. And that leads you to a truth many avoid. You cannot cut through life while holding on to the things that blunt you. Masamune sharpened until the blade could cut with ease, not through force, not through aggression, but through precision. Your life needs that same precision, not scattered effort, not blind intensity, not chaos disguised as passion. Precision, intentional habits, intentional relationships, intentional thoughts, intentional goals. A sharp mind is not busy. It is focused. A sharp life is not loud. It is aligned. A sharp person is not perfect. They are honest. You are now at the point where the blade is almost ready. But one final step remains, because a weapon that is strong but not balanced will destroy itself. And that is what Masamune understood better than anyone, which brings us to the tempering, the test that separates the sharp from the unbreakable. Chapter 4. The Temper and the Mark, Becoming Unbreakable. A sharpened blade is dangerous, but a tempered blade is unbreakable. Masamune knew this better than anyone. After the fire, after the hammer, after the sharpening, the final step was the most delicate of all, tempering. He would heat the blade again, not to soften it, but to strengthen its core. Then, with absolute precision, he plunged it into water. The temperature shift was brutal, instant, unforgiving, and yet, without this moment, the blade would crack in battle. Tempering was the test that revealed the truth. Was the blade only sharp, or was it truly ready for the world? Your life has a tempering phase, too. It's not the fire, it's not the hammer, it's not the sharpening. It's the moment life hits you with something unexpected. Pressure, stress, hardship, disappointment. And you must hold your shape, not break, not shatter, not lose yourself. Hold your shape. That is true strength. Most people assume strength is force, but Masamune knew the opposite. Strength is balance. Strength is resilience. Strength is the ability to face sudden change and still remain who you are. Look at your own life. The times you were overwhelmed, the moments everything shifted in one day, the betrayals, the failures, the sudden losses, the unexpected storms. These moments didn't just test your strength, they revealed it. Some seasons bent you, some nearly broke you, but you're still here. You faced tempering you didn't choose. Now imagine who you could become if you chose to be tempered. Tempering is where strength meets flexibility. Too rigid and you break. Too flexible and you become useless. Balance is the key. The world worships extremes today. Work nonstop or do nothing, love blindly or trust nobody, be completely soft or completely hard. Masamune would tell you, a life of extremes cannot endure. Strength must bend. Flexibility must hold. Where is your imbalance? Do you push too hard until you burn out? Do you rest too much until you fall behind? Do you open your heart too wide? Or have you closed it so tightly you let no one in? Tempering forces you to answer one question: can I stay true to myself, even in the cold shock of life? Once the blade survived the tempering, Masamune performed the final ritual. He added his mark, a small, quiet engraving, not for decoration, not for ego, for identity. The blade could now be traced back to its maker. It carried a signature, the proof that it did not appear by accident. It had a lineage, a standard, a purpose. And now we arrive at the most important part of your entire journey. What is your mark? What standard do you live by? What principles shape your choices? What code guides your behavior when no one is watching? What identity are you forging every day through your actions? You cannot be unbreakable if you do not know who you are or what you stand for. Your mark is not a tattoo. It is not a quote on your wall. It is not something you post on social media. Your mark is your behavior repeated consistently. It is the way you treat people, the way you face fear, the way you show up, the way you discipline yourself, the way you choose your path with intention. Your mark is the difference between a life that feels accidental and a life that feels forged. Masamune's blades were feared, respected, and treasured because they carried the signature of a man who refused to create anything weak. What signature will your life carry? When people speak of you, what will they say? He was kind but inconsistent. He had potential but never sharpened it. He dreamed loudly but lived softly. Or will they say, he forged himself? He lived by a code. He became who he said he would become. he carried a mark that never faded. You have gone through the fire. You have felt the hammer. You have faced the sharpening, and now you have survived the temper. The final question is no longer, can you change? You already have. The question is, will you honor the person you are becoming? Because the world you walk into tomorrow will try to dull you, distract you, break you, make you forget your purpose, make you forget your mark. But you didn't come this far to return to who you were. You came this far to step into who you were meant to be. You are the blade, you are the maker, and now you are ready for the world.